Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today is April 12th. It's time to work in the garden and plant more seeds, but first, let's feed the birds and the squirrels. Yesterday, we started hardening off our cabbage and onion seedlings for 2 hours. Let's go get them. Today, we're going to harden them off for 4 hours. Let's get this tape off, open them up, and leave them on the shelf for 2 hours. Now let's go get the red onions from the garage. We'll leave them on the shelf in the shade for 2 hours and then move them to the sun for 2 hours. But we need to protect the cabbages from the white cabbage butterfly, whose eggs hatch into those worms that eat up the leaves. We need to start hardening off the red cabbage from the garage. So let's bring it over to the shelf and harden it off for 2 hours in the shade, but we won't put it in the sun today. We'll put it back in the garage. Do you see that pile of vines and the one in the wagon? I cut down the grapevine and the porcelain berry vine that grows along the fence yesterday, because they're host plants for the spotted lanternflies. Now, they've been here since 2018, but they've gotten worse in the last 2 years. I don't have the time or energy to keep those vines sprayed, so it's time to cut them down. The grapevine is why this wall is dirty. That's from the leaves breaking down in the winter. I need to get that washed. Now, this cabbage is going to stay here for 2 hours in this protected area today. People protect their cabbage plants, but they often don't think to protect their seedlings. Now I want to sow sweet peppers, but first, let's spread these coffee grounds around the berry plants. Now let's winter sow in this water jug sweet peppers, a variety called Ivarsky. They're an heirloom. A 6-inch tapered sweet red pepper, good for grilling. They are from my own saved seeds. These are a sweet, thin-walled pepper from the 1500s, a very old variety developed in the Macedonia region. I love these peppers. They are my top performers. Many people do their winter sowing starting in February, but I've learned I can wait until April for my summer veggies. I used to start my pepper seedlings 8 to 10 weeks before our last frost indoors because I like big transplants. But here in North Central Maryland, you can start pepper seedlings the whole month of April. The doves love the back door. I'm surprised it's so close to me. They're definitely getting used to me being out in the garden. After winter, they were scared whenever I was out here. I'm curious how long it's going to stay, and I'm curious what it's eating. Probably bird seeds that have been cleaned off the shoes before going into the house. I used to sow all of my seeds in the basement under lights with heat mats, but in May my husband had a liver transplant, so he cannot inhale soil anymore. So no more sowing seeds in the house. So that makes winter sowing perfect for me. If I'd sown these in the house, they would germinate in 4 to 7 days. But with winter sowing, it's going to depend on the temperature. When they're ready inside that jug, they're going to germinate. Last year I sowed mid-April and they took 17 days to germinate. Peppers need soil temperatures of 75 to 85 degrees to germinate. If you plan to grow peppers, pick a place with full sun. Peppers like warmth and lots of sunshine. Wait to transplant your peppers into the garden until after your last frost. 2 to 4 weeks after your last frost, preferably 4. They don't like cold nights. Here in north central Maryland, in growing zone 6B, 7A, we plant our peppers after Mother's Day. If you want big, full-size peppers, give them enough space. Plant them 18 to 24 inches apart. Ivarski peppers can become 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide. Now, if you want to plant your peppers close together, do what makes you happy. Just expect the peppers to be smaller. But make sure you do what you enjoy in your garden. Here I get 2 harvests from my pepper plants, and my first harvest tends to be bigger. Then they'll set new fruit, and I'll get a second harvest in the fall. Peppers can suffer from blossom end rot. It's where that bottom of the flower breaks down and rots. It's from not enough calcium uptake into the plant. Sometimes it's from a calcium deficiency, but more often it's from inconsistent water. You may have a dry spell and then lots of rain, and that messes the calcium uptake balance. Blossom end rot is not a disease. It's a problem with a biological process. In my experience, I don't have this problem with my first harvest because of consistent late spring rains. Now, blossom end rot starts when the fruits are tiny and first setting. Where I experience is my second harvest because of the inconsistent summer rains. If I do water my plants, it helps cut down on the blossom end rot, but not every day. Deeply water about every 3 days because pepper plants do like to dry out a little bit. If you feel like it's a soil deficiency problem, you can test your soil, and you can supplement with a liquid Cal Mag. I do that sometimes, but because I sheet mulch my garden with cardboard and cover it with mulch, I don't water very often. I put groups of 3 seeds, which I'll later thin, and this soil is already moistened. I'll top it with 1/4 of an inch of pre-moistened soil and press it in well. Then we'll tape up this jug. I don't want to water them in because that will make the jug wet and the tape won't stick. Today we're going to use masking tape. Remember, we've already tried this sticky Gorilla Tape, which is best. But this athletic tape was lousy. The silver duct tape worked, and yesterday we used the normal packing tape. We'll see how this one does. Today we're going to use the masking tape. On further inspection, this one has dried out in the garage, so we're going to try the painter's tape. So with this narrow tape, make sure you don't miss the line and have any gaps or places for moisture and heat to escape. Make sure to take off the lid and have drainage holes. This acts as a mini greenhouse. Now let's set it out in the garden where it will germinate. I forgot to write the date. Use a garden pen that won't fade in the sun. A Sharpie won't last. Did you see the condensation on the eggplant? We sowed those yesterday, and every day I pick up the jugs to see if they feel a little bit light. And if they need water, I make sure to bottom water. Dale has arrived with our steamed shrimp lunch. So let's take a break from the garden, go up on the balcony, and eat. And I'll try to remember to film. Yesterday, I totally forgot. Lunch is done. And the 2 hours are up, so let's move these plants into the sun. This net will protect them from the white cabbage butterflies. I'll come back in an hour to see if they're wilting, and if they're fine, I'll leave them for another hour. But for today, the red cabbage in the cells needs to go back into the garage. Its 2 hours are done, and that's enough for today. Tomorrow, the red cabbage will spend 2 hours on the shelf and then 2 hours here in the sun. Now let's sow our sweet peppers in cells. We're gonna germinate them under lights on a heat mat in the garage. Pepper seeds are easy to save, but I do plant the sweet peppers in the back and the hot peppers in the front garden so they don't cross. I'm going to put groups of 3 seeds in each cell and then later thin them down to 1 plant. Saving my own pepper seeds helps them to acclimate to this specific garden. I use 5 of the healthiest, strongest plants and the biggest fruit. I wait until they're really red and ripe and save the seeds. And so they grow exceptionally well in my soil. It's also why I have so many seeds in this jar. I used to crowd my plants. I wanted to use every inch of space available because this is a small garden. I live in the heart of the city, an old historic downtown. I don't have much space, and I do grow in the front and the back on all of my property, but I've learned less plants is better. Give them 18 to 24 inches. Because they can grow, like I said, 2 feet tall and wide. And that's how I get big, beautiful fruit. I used to plant the peppers between my okra, between my sunflowers, but they wouldn't get enough sun. All peppers like full sun, so pick a sunny spot in your garden. I recommend starting your seeds on a heat mat. They like that temperature, 75 to 85 degrees, to germinate. Even when I started seedlings in the basement, in the 70-degree furnace room, I still used a heat mat. Now, this is the first time starting them in the cold garage. We had 2 frosts last week, so we'll see if we're past that. So the heat mat is a must. I already have the lights on because they will require those after they germinate, and those will add a little bit more heat. Like I said, here we wait to plant until after Mother's Day in North Central Maryland. So you need to know your last frost date, then wait 2 to 4 weeks, preferably 4, after that last frost. If you plant them when nights are below 65, your plants are going to stay small and struggle to grow. They need that warmth, so be patient. Give yourself time. We're going to top this already moistened soil with a 1/4 inch layer of moist soil and pat it in. Now, you could water these in, but do it gently. Otherwise, your tray is going to overflow and you're going to lose your seeds. I like to top mine with a heat dome that I bought from Jiffy several years ago. These are going to share the heat dome with the eggplant. If we're having dry weather in May when I plant these, I will water with Cal Mag to prevent that blossom end rot. It's normally not a problem for me until that second harvest in the fall. But remember, that develops while the fruit is setting when they're tiny. If you see blossom end rot on your larger fruit, it's going to be too late. So go ahead and water with the Cal Mag if you're concerned. And you can always have your soil tested, but more than likely it's not a soil issue, it's an inconsistent water issue. Not enough water and then too much. It's best to deep water every 3 days instead of every day. Remember, the lights are on a timer, on for 12 hours, off for 12 hours, but the heat mats stay on 24 hours a day. Transplants and plants grown in containers do need water more often. The raspberries are still alive and look good. Now, while we're waiting for the onions and cabbage to finish their hardening off time, let's do a little bit of cleaning up. Do you see the benefit of spacing out our strawberries, thinning them out, and not having them crowded? Do you see how those blossoms have spread out and are reaching for the sun? That helps them to develop big fruit. Next, I need to protect this area from birds and sheet mulch it with some cardboard. Eggplant and sweet peppers seeds are done. And for now, these seeds are fine in the cool garage. Later, as it warms up, I'll move them back into the house. And next we need to sow hot peppers and tomatoes. I think 4 varieties. Exciting. I like to stay organized. I use these green stakes to support most of my plants. I'm Really not a fan of those big tomato cages. And those little squares of wire mesh, I use those around the base of the plants to protect from digging animals. And here are more of the hoops. I really like to put these around the garden and to protect my plants. It really makes for some beautiful vegetables. The first iris is fully open, and soon Dale will come and cut this one and put it in the house. Soon we're going to have so many blossoms, my favorite flower. We're going to plant our summer veggies in this area, so it needs to be cleaned up by Mother's Day, about 2 months. This year we're only going to use this area for compost. I need to build up the soil. The last few years I've grown carrots and beets here, so I haven't been able to sheet mulch or build soil. So this year we're going to give it a rest, and we'll chop and drop this at our leisure. The berry area is ready for mulch, for its hoops, and its bird netting. We just have to make sure we get it done before the strawberries start to ripen in May. In this area, we're going to plant our carrots, our beets, and our cabbages, our spring veggies. So the carrots and beets, they don't need the cardboard, the sheet mulch. They just need empty soil because we're going to direct sow. The cabbage area will be sheet mulched and planted out next week. All summer long, the flowering will have a variety of blossoms. And behind it, I'll grow zinnias because the butterflies love them. This old sunflower from last year is the variety Autumn Blend. Multi-branching, multi-flowering, multiple colored sunflower. And this year we're going to grow them again and surround them all the way along the fence bordering the garden. Normally I have flowers, herbs, creeping jenny, and strawberries in these green stalk planters. This year, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're not a priority. I will stack them up and maybe buy some flowers. Normally I would start my flowers from seeds, marigolds and petunias, but not this year. And normally I protect these over the winter, but after my husband's liver transplant surgery, these just were not a priority. So the herbs died. This corner definitely needs to be cleaned up. But the front garden is ready to go. Definitely going to plant hot peppers in the front, maybe marigolds, and the hot peppers would be behind those. Maybe okra, it loves the heat here in the front. Possibly some tomatoes, but definitely our tall mammoth sunflowers. The bunting looks good, and the strawberries have flowers. We'll get a few fruit from these. And the snapdragons add a nice color. We're so fortunate that we don't have an HMO. The only rule is you have to have an organized, maintained garden. Dale's headed out to cut the iris. And it's time for the onions and the red cabbage to go back. Their 2 hours in the sun is done. Dale is an expert at arranging flowers, much better than me. I grow them, he arranges them. Safe until tomorrow. I've never seen a white cabbage butterfly go in the garage, but you never know. Thank you for visiting Withrow Urban Homestead. See you later. Bye-bye.